Welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob here. Coming at you like we normally do on your Monday episodes on a Sunday night. But we talked a little bit about this before we got on. PGA Tour better watch the fuck out because it's only been 1 week. So N equals one, right, on your sample size. But Scottie Scheffler may have figured out how to putt. And it turns out all it took, again, just from one weekend, one tournament, all it took was just to switch to a mallet putter. And he gained strokes. He gained 4 strokes putting this weekend. So to put that in perspective, let me see if I can pull up his strokes gained putting really quickly for the season.
Not good. Also, Siwoo Kim is the new Scottie Scheffler. I think he led the field tee to green and was last by a long while putting. I don't know if he definitely was at one point during the tournament. I don't know if it held, but
so this season, Scottie Scheffler, the number 1 ranked golfer in the world, the guy that's blows the fucking doors off tee to green, all that. Just this season, his average strokes gained is minus 0.4 on the just putting, right, on the greens. He loses just shy of half a stroke on average this season.
So generally that's to a tournament.
Yep. So that ranks him well, and so for anyone out there like, all right, cool, I don't know what that number means. That ranks him 144th on tour this
Probably
year.
out of about 200.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's somewhere, it's 200-ish, right? 144th out of 200. Now, some of you might say, oh, the 2024 season is young, right? It's relatively new and Scottie doesn't play in every event. Okay, that's a fair critique. So if I go back to last season, right, where Scottie played a full season on tour, last season, he ranked 162nd in strokes gained putting on tour for an average of minus 0.3. 162nd. So even worse last year.
So just to provide the annoying differing opinion that kind of ruins every narrative, he did lead the field. Like pretty much every time he leads the field in putting, he wins.
Correct. He's done it 4 times, and all 4 of those have been wins, including today.
Which shouldn't be all that surprising because he is a crazy good ball striker right now.
Yeah. And so his year that he blew up when he really came on the scene in 2021 into 2022, he was 58th on tour in putting that year. Right? That was 2022 where he won 4 times by like fucking April.
By the Masters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or by and including the Masters.
Right.
Yeah. But didn't win again and fucking blew the tour championship.
Correct. So, yeah, I mean, again, sample size of 1, right? But it looks like Scottie may have turned things around with his putter.
Well, he has gone to the mallet before and it didn't work. He seems to always end up going back to his Scottie. Now, if he can just get over the fact that for whatever reason with the Scottie, he just doesn't line it up. Because that's what everyone who knows what they're talking about has observed. He just can't line it up and get online. So I mean, yeah, we'll see because everyone knows like the for whatever irrational reason, the putter always has a nice honeymoon period where just looking at something different seems to like propel these guys. And then ultimately, like whatever it actually is, if it's not something mechanical or if it's not something with his setup, like this actually changes it. Because I did see some other guy talk about that. how he'd prefer to play a blade, but the mallet is the only thing that he can get lined up the way that he needs it to be lined up. Okay, all right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
guessing that's probably like what's contributing to it because there's nothing special about the fucking putter.
right. Right. Yeah. It's just a tailor-made Spider, right? Spider X, whatever the hell it is,
Yeah,
whatever
I mean,
model he's
again,
got.
ultimately a putter's just a putter. Like I can
Right.
miss with whatever putter.
Yeah, yeah. I could buy a $600 Scotty Cameron putter and still miss a 4-footer. Right. It's the Indian, not the arrow, right?
Very easy.
So but yeah, I mean something that people better watch out for because if Scotty actually has figured out how to putt, well, then he's probably going to have another season where he wins 4 times at least.
I just hope that these guys start to just be fucking better. Like the good guys or like the top ranked players, like just start winning some fucking events. I'm just sick of this shit.
Yeah.
And
I'm
the
going to be
worst,
curious. I don't think the numbers have come out yet, right? They might not come out till later or maybe even tomorrow morning. But I'd be curious to see what Scotty's at next week. Now, I know there's the like guys don't win back to back, all this, but I'm curious to see where the number goes because people may bet him still, right? Like you may
yeah,
get
I
the
mean,
crowd that are just gonna bet him.
if he was 750 plus 750, 7.5 to 1
Yeah.
to win, well, he was 650 this week.
Right.
Players is usually a little bit harder, so I would have guessed he was probably 750, 700,
Right. Like
seven
if
and a half,
that
seven.
number comes down to 650 again or 600 or
I would imagine it's probably going to be 600, 6 to 1.
yeah.
I'll pull up DraftKings. They might have it.
Yeah, DraftKings is pretty good about getting
Speed.
early lines out.
Yeah, they're good about speed. Their lines might not be good, but
Right, but they're
they do
quick.
them fast.
Yeah.
Plus, the players is one where sometimes they offer that early.
Yeah. Yeah, what is it? What's the fuck? It's a stupid construction thing I hear all the time at work. There's three things you can have when it comes to that stuff, and it's you can either have it done
6 to 1.
good, quick, or
Good, fast, or
cheap.
cheap.
Yeah, good, fast, or
You can
cheap,
have
right?
two out of the
You can
three. You
have
can't
two of
have
the
all three.
three. Exactly. That's exactly how it goes.
Mhm.
So DraftKings is going to be fast and not good.
Yeah, but I mean, so he's 6 to 1. That's probably correct. Um, yeah, and then it just like falls off a cliff from there because these guys just aren't playing well. Rory 10, Xander 14, Hovland 18, Cantlay 20,
Yeah, I mean
Homa
Rory
22,
absolutely shit himself today.
Thomas 25, Morikawa 25, Zalatoris 25, Burns 28,
It's
Speed
like
35.
with Rory,
This is
it's
fucking crazy.
it's one of two stories, right? It's either he is way out of it, and then on Sunday he shoots a 64 to finish 5 strokes off the lead, or he's hanging around and then on Sunday he shits himself and falls back. He was like T4 to start the day or something. I mean, that might have changed by the time he teed off, right? With guys moving around because he's one of the last guys off. But he was solidly top five, right? When he teed off. And what did he finish? 23rd, T23 or something like that. He ended up, I think, shooting a 72. What is it? A par 71 at Bay Hill?
Oh, actually, everyone hates that fucking golf course, so
Yeah.
I
But
don't.
yeah.
It's hard for me to keep track of that place because, again, everyone fucking hates it.
So something to keep an eye on when it comes to golf and just golf betting. That people may be on the Scottie Scheffler train now every week, which again would the no as we've talked about many times, like the numbers can change depending on how much money is coming in too, right? So people start pounding him. Like I wouldn't be surprised if his number got stupid low for the Masters. Um, like if he got down to like 450.
I don't think you'll see 450 at the Masters because Rahm's playing.
Yeah.
Like Rahm's playing, DJ's playing, Kepka's playing. Like those guys are there.
Yeah, but I mean, like even
Cam
as we
Smith.
get closer with money that comes in, like it may shift again, right? Like week of it may go back up, but
Now,
you
one
know,
one book may do that, but it's not going to be across the board. He won't get that low.
yeah. Which at that point is just dumb, right? Because he's probably not going to win.
Right. I
You
think
know,
Rahm played. I think last year Rahm played in like a very weak field, and he got to like 450.
yeah,
It might have been Mexico last year. Rahm might have got to 450, and Finau got to like 7-1,
yeah.
and then like everyone else after that. But you can see with the players, they're baiting you to take people. Speed 35-1. Someone's gonna look at that and be like, "Oh, that's too high. I'll take that." And it's like, well, he ain't winning.
Right, right. Yeah, and then the opposite is going on right now with Zalatoris because he's been playing pretty fucking well lately. I know he had a tough round today on Sunday, but overall he's been playing very well. And his numbers have, I think, cut in half for a lot of the majors. What was he? He was 44. He was 44 to 1 to win the Masters prior to Bay Hill this weekend. And then
Don't trust that number
after the
because
second round, he was down to
no.
24.
The one thing I've noticed with that website, was that a Caesars number?
Uh I don't know. I don't remember.
That website that you use, because there's no need to fucking shit on them for no reason, because the
No,
website's
it was
actually
FanDuel.
it was FanDuel. That website does not update their odds very quickly,
Yeah.
especially on something like that. Um, there's no way that 2 rounds of a golf tournament would go from 44 to 24 or 28. So I'm thinking that just didn't update, like from probably like a couple weeks ago,
Well,
especially because we're talking golf.
yeah. Yeah, because so I have the screenshot that I sent you. So at Caesars he was 40, FanDuel was 44, DraftKings was 35, and MGM was 33. And now across the board he's between 20 to 24, or like 21 to 24, I think. So even coming from 33 down to 24.
Yeah, that makes sense though because dude, he had a 5-shot lead.
Yeah.
Everyone saw that.
Yeah. And everyone remembers he finished second in his first Masters.
Yeah.
So,
I still only got Kepka right now.
yeah, I got Bruce. I think I took Zal. I think I panicked and took him at 24 because I figured the number was going to come lower even more.
So this
Um,
this will be actually semi interesting to track, only to probably to me and you. I know with the majors, there's gonna like the narrative guys. Once you get to the week of, they start to fucking plummet. So it's like
yeah,
I could see Zalatoris dropping back down to like 35 during the week because the book's just trying to reduce their liability right now when the real number probably should be like in that 30, 35
yeah.
area.
So I got him at 24 um, on FanDuel. And right now he's at 21.
Yeah, and then so I've watched this though. Like I've tracked this in or not tracked it, but I have noticed in years past when I thought I was like getting way ahead on somebody
Yeah.
just to see their number
The
go
number comes right
the
back.
opposite way.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be against double tapping him either. I mean, with these guys, like once it's like 25, 30, whatever, like I'm only betting $5 on him. So I would, if he went back up to like 28, I would throw another five. So that's like basically 10 to win, whatever,
Yeah,
350
I
on
wonder if
average.
he'll be one of those guys. Hovland's probably one of those guys. He's
Yeah.
probably super low right now,
Yeah. He's
but
15.
yeah, but it's like why?
Yeah.
He shouldn't be 15.
Scotty's at 6 right now
Yeah, it's he might come back a little bit,
on
but he
FanDuel.
also might not.
Let me check DraftKings.
It's probably going to be the same. But Hovland's one where it's like there's no real reason why he should be 15 outside of the book just trying to like
He's
not take
650.
not take too much on, but he's not playing well. And
Yeah.
I truthfully I don't know what his record is at Augusta, but he's not playing well right now. So his number really like he's 18 in the players and he's 15 in the Masters. How does that make any sense?
Right.
So the Masters has better players.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see him like week of fall to 20.
Yeah. So Scotty is 6 at FanDuel, 6.5 at DraftKings, and 7 at MGM.
Yep. I mean, he's going to be that. That's not moving.
No. Wow, Zalatoris is 18 at MGM.
They must have got drilled on him.
That seems really low.
It is. But they probably don't want this much early action on the Masters.
Yeah.
We're not on that guy.
Yeah.
Like they'll take if someone wants to take Adam Scott, they'll take that.
Yeah, Zalatoris is 18 at DraftKings too.
Yeah, people must have fucking drilled him.
Yeah. So
18's too low for him.
yeah, that's really
The
low.
same thing. He's 35 to win the players.
Yeah.
There are better competitors in the Masters at the
Which
top
is
end, at least.
I was gonna say, which is funny to say that because for so long, the gimmick, the gimmicks of it, right? Or the slogans, whatever, is the players is, oh, it's the hardest tournament in golf or whatever. And then
Strongest field.
yeah, strongest field in golf. And then the Masters
The
is notorious
weakest.
for being the weakest because it's a small field and there's guys that won the thing 30 years ago that are still playing.
Yeah.
But it's
AM's
funny,
past champs.
right? But it's funny because that's kind of not the case anymore because of Live. So like to really say the strongest field in golf is the players is not really accurate anymore because like to your point, the Masters, you could make the argument that it's a bit of a stronger field at the top at least, right? Because you're going to have
It's not top to bottom stronger, but when
right,
you're talking
right.
about outrights and likelihood to win,
Yeah, if you take the
you
top 30 guys, right? The top 30 guys in both events, the Masters has a better top 30.
probably has a better top 10.
Well, yeah, for sure. I mean, because you have
Even just Rahm and Kepka.
Rom, Kepka, DJ, Cam Smith.
Yeah, those four, you can probably just stop
And
there.
I mean, right now, I wouldn't normally include him.
I'm not listening to what you're about to say. He is a bum.
Oh, yeah, but right now he's playing really fucking well as Joaquin Neiman. I wouldn't normally list him in the same breath as those other guys, but right now, has he won 3 events already or something like that?
He's won 2 live events and he won fucking the Australian Open. I think it was the Australian Open.
Yeah.
He's a
So,
bum. All he
well,
does is bitch
yeah,
and moan and complain.
yeah, he is a bum, but he's playing well right now. So
Fuck him.
that's fine. You don't have to like him, but he's
I'm betting him to make
playing
the
very
cut.
well. To miss the cut, you mean?
Nope, to make it. That way, when I lose my bet, he misses the cut.
All right, there you go. Fair enough. I like the reverse psychology.
Hmm. I'm not betting him to make the cut. That number will be like minus 250,
Yeah.
minus 300.
Um, well, on a keeping it on a gambling note, I guess here to roll with it. I think I may have discovered a little bit of a niche. We'll see how it goes over the next couple weeks, but I texted, our group text with you, me, Jones, and Vinny, but dipping my toes into college lacrosse. And I originally kind of thought about it because I saw the numbers pop up on DraftKings while I was scrolling through just looking at other stuff, and I saw like NCAA lacrosse and I was like, "Oh, let me just kind of like take a look at who's playing or whatever." And then I saw some of the games and I was like, "Let me look into this a little bit more." And I pulled up some statistics um, and looked at some stuff. And then I remembered something that Billy Walters said in his Joe Rogan podcast episode, where he was talking about how, and we talked a little bit about this off air, but how real professional gamblers, right? They typically don't really bet that much or bet big amounts on things like the NFL because too many people bet on the NFL and the lines are too sharp, right? And things here and there may be a little bit off and you may be able to find an edge somewhere, but it's way fucking harder to find an edge betting on the NFL because so many people bet on it and there's so many eyes on it. And one of the things he talked about with Rogan was that's where, and I laugh because, we follow other people, right? Like Sammy P and used to be Dan Lifshatz and Joe Murray, but, Joe Murray has moved on and Lifshatz is kind of a weirdo now. Um, but they always talk about like the random sports, right? Like this was a little bit because it was during COVID, but was it Joe Murray was betting on like Russian ping pong or something like that.
A lot of people were
Um,
betting Korean baseball.
yeah, a lot of people were going to Korean baseball, but it's one of those things. And Sammy P, I think, has talked about like the obscure college football lines or college basketball. Um, like the
Yeah, he
schools.
bets the Missouri Valley Conference.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's the schools that no one here has heard about. And that's exactly what Billy Walters said was that your professional gamblers, they go to those games because there's so much to handicap for that they don't have the time to analyze the Missouri Valley
Yeah,
basketball
do you know
conference.
how many rocket scientists or like that level of
Matt Patricia.
analytics people work on the NFL in the gambling industry?
Oh yeah, absurd amounts.
Let's say that number is just we'll just use X. That number is X.
Yeah. Yeah.
The amount of people, rocket scientists, data analytics, whatever, that are working on college baseball is probably like a tenth of that.
Right. Right.
Maybe less. I actually
Right.
wouldn't be surprised if it's less.
Yeah.
You know how many people are working on college lacrosse? Probably half of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the only thing is, and this because like, dude, I also this is the thing. I love the idea. But the other thing is, you're not the first person to think of this, and that's where
Correct.
you got to be careful because
Right. And I know I'm going to take my lumps, right? Like I went through a slate. I looked at like 7 or 8 games. The full slate this weekend I think was like 20 plus games. I only looked at 7 or 8. And then of those 7 or 8, I like two sides. So I went with Quinnipiac on the spread -3.5 versus Canisius. I don't even know what Canisius is, but shout out to Quinnipiac, local guys in Connecticut. Um, so I took them -3.5, and then there was the big matchup of the week, the primetime game, was Syracuse. I think it was they're ranked number 9, so it was number 9 Syracuse versus like number 2 or 3 ranked Johns Hopkins. So two powerhouse lacrosse schools, whatever. And Syracuse opened as a 1.5 point dog. By the time the no, sorry, I think I have that backwards. They opened as a 1.5 point favorite. By the time they were getting ready to take the face off, they had flipped to a 1.5 point dog. So that had a little less to do with it, but other than like the actual statistics that I looked at. So having played lacrosse and coached it for a little bit, like I kind of am able to look at, again, I'm not the first person. I'm not saying I'm the only one or the best or something like that, but I do have a competitive edge versus, someone like you or Jones or Vinny or something like that, right? Like Vinny played lacrosse, but if anyone knows Vinny. um, so I looked at a couple different statistics that I think are important when it comes to matchups, and the rankings, Syracuse was just better. I think it was ground balls. Ground balls, Syracuse might have been like, and I'm making up numbers here, but they might have been like ninth in the country in ground balls. And Johns Hopkins was like 35th. And it's like, all right, that's a big gap. Like that's a big separation. And then there was another one that was like shooting percentage. Those were pretty higher, but like Syracuse might have been like 7th and Hopkins was like, 15th or something like that. So they were closer, but Syracuse was still had the edge. So there was a couple different things that I looked at. Turnovers and then forced turnovers is another one. Um, clearing percentages is not super important. But there were some things where I looked at and I was like, I like Syracuse, but the spread, and this is where you get like some goofy shit. The spread at Syracuse, what I say it closed at. I can't remember what the flip did because I didn't bet the spread. So whatever the spread closed at, say it was plus 1.5, it was like minus 250. And I was like, that's fucking stupid. Like, I'm not laying that juice for 1.5 points. So the money line was Hopkins was like minus 115 and Syracuse was 105. So I took Syracuse on the money line and they ended up winning, I think, by two goals, 3 goals. Was it yeah, 17-14, I think was the final. And I actually watched the game. I watched it on my phone because I had to watch it on ESPN Plus. Um, but it was a pretty good game, and Syracuse mostly dominated. Like there was one period in the third quarter where Hopkins looked like they might be able to come back, but the fourth quarter was dominated by Syracuse. So I hit both of them. I hit Quinnipiac minus 3.5, and I hit Syracuse on the money line minus 105. So I'm 2-0 in lacrosse. Now, there's a very real possibility that if I have the time to look at it this weekend, because I'm also kind of busy at work this week, and I find 2 games, I may go 0-2, right? Like I'm not really going to know how I feel about betting college lacrosse unless I do it for like a month.
Well, that's what I was gonna say because I started 2-0 my golf bets and 0-5 since, so
Right.
we're fucking hot.
Right. But yeah, I mean, to your point, right? And to what, Billy Walters and Sammy P and all those guys talk about is like you find a sport that's obscure that you might know a little bit more about. And for, Sammy P, that's the Mississippi Valley Basketball Conference and the college baseball. He's talked about that a lot. Was it last year?
He
He
yeah,
went in on Florida.
he's got other people for that though.
Yeah,
Like so
yeah,
like the guy he interviewed or like the guy that gives him a call.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though. But I was gonna say the other piece is you'll have to eventually get to a point where you're finding certain things. So for example, in that baseball episode, there are certain like things that you want in a team that you're going to trust to kind of like either go all the way or you're going to trust come tournament time or whatever. and it might be ground balls, or it might be ground balls, senior middies, and um, like
Like a senior goalie, right?
whatever,
Yeah.
because it's not
Like if
all
there's
gonna be.
one team that has a freshman or a sophomore goalie, like Hopkins, right? Hopkins is like two or three in the country, but they may have a sophomore goalie, and it's like, I don't know
Yeah, and
about
it's
that.
like it's a 5-star kid, but he's gonna win all the this is how this kind of goes. Like that kid might win all these awards, and he's gonna be the top guy, and he was a 5-star recruit, and everyone's like, oh, this is the guy, this is the guy, this is the guy. But they kind of forgot that like the lefty is like a fucking liability.
Right, right.
So it's like, you know,
Or maybe there's no depth on defense, right? So if anyone gets a penalty, they're fucked, right? Like any of their
yeah,
backups are just not good.
because that's like what the baseball, whoever he had on to talk baseball, he was saying that like, I remember they definitely said,
You need two starting pitchers, right?
oh, you need a Friday. They said that you need a Friday guy.
Yeah,
Um, and you need a bull. I think it was you need a bullpen that can just stop it.
yeah,
And they said a defense. They go, a
right.
defense will keep you
Yeah, I remember that too.
alive because that's the problem with college sports. College kids play them.
Right,
College kickers, college free throws, like
right, right.
the little stuff.
Yeah,
Like that's where fucking
you're gonna get the yips.
yeah, that's where college kids fuck it all up. Now again, there's also this is like everything else. Like you tell, and now Syracuse is a bad example because Syracuse is also very good at lacrosse, but you tell me that
Quinnipiac.
sure, Quinnipiac's playing Johns Hopkins. I'm like, okay, well that number's already wrong because it's gonna go so far like
Right,
towards Johns Hopkins that
right,
now you just have to make sure that the other team can do their part.
right.
Now, if Quinnipiac isn't worth a shit unless they're playing fucking Canisius or whatever the fuck that school is, then you can't bet it.
Right.
But if you look at it and go, oh, this is odd. Michigan this year, which they're probably pretty good normally, but Michigan this year, they're number one in defense, number one in ground balls, and number one in possession. Like, that's strange.
Yeah,
And it's like maybe they don't light up the scoreboard, but like, you know that they take care of like the little stuff. It goes, give me them. Like, I'm taking
yeah,
them because Johns Hopkins has a reputation. It's like Duke basketball,
yeah,
Dallas Cowboys, Alabama football. Like, all those numbers are fucking screwy one way or the other because of the way people bet.
yeah. And a good example of this was a game I almost got baited into when I was looking at numbers. It was so a team that stood out to me on the offensive end, they had a super high scoring percentage. They might have been like somewhere around like third, fourth, fifth in scoring percentage. And their offensive numbers were through the roof, was High Point University in like North Carolina, I think they are. And they played Towson or Towson. I don't know how to
I
pronounce
think
it.
it's Towson, Maryland.
Yeah, yeah. So they played Towson, and Towson was not good offensively, but their defensive numbers were pretty good. So that's why I stayed away from the game. I almost went High Point because I was like, High Point is just so much better. So the way I looked at it too was High Point's offensive statistics were in like, call it the top 10%, right, of college lacrosse. Well, Towson's defense wasn't quite top 10% defense, but they were like, top 20%, right? And their offense was bad. So it was a strength on strength matchup. And I was like, nah, I don't like it enough to roll with High Point. I forget what the spread was too. Um, but I was like, I don't know. It might have been like 4. It might have been High Point -4 or something like that. So then I looked, I was just scrolling through scores yesterday. Towson beat High Point 10-9. So you have one of the top college lacrosse offenses, right, in the country that just put up 9 goals, which isn't a lot for anyone that doesn't know lacrosse, right? I just said that the Syracuse Johns Hopkins game was 17-14. So, a team like High Point that is all offense and not really known for any of their defense, and Towson, who has a decent defense and like kind of a whatever offense, they beat High Point by one. They've 10-9. So it's like goofy shit like that can happen, right? And like I said, I almost took the cheese on High Point, but I stayed away.
That's gonna be some of the other things that like Sammy P talks about too is like certain coaches on the road, they just don't fucking win.
Right. Right.
Now he's talking like the coach of fucking Akron and shit, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's like coaches that have been there a while, they just don't win on the fucking road. Or like this team at noon on a road game, they're just not gonna show up. But that's like another thing too. It's like, so we'll just use that same exact example. And it's like, okay, you're looking at High Point. It's like, okay, that offense should roll. And it's like, the other team's defense is good, but like that offense is better.
They
And
have
it's like,
an
I don't know.
elite, it's an elite offense.
And it's like, I don't know what the line is. So that changes things too. I'm also not super familiar with the sport. So I'm kind of making shit up as I go. And it's like, okay, so High Point's in North Carolina. They're coming up north to Maryland. Now it's definitely close. And I am making this scenario up. I don't know where
Right.
they played. I don't know what time they played.
Right.
So North Carolina, they're coming up north to Maryland. It's still fucking cold up here, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's still cold.
Yeah.
And I know Maryland's probably a little warmer than Massachusetts, but it's cold. It's fucking March. Okay. So you got North Carolina, they're coming up north. It's cold. This is an offensive team. It's like what happens in every other sport when the weather sucks? The offense sucks
Right.
generally.
Right.
And the game's going to be at noon. Now we're talking college lacrosse. I don't know if this is a team that fucking flies the night before, stays in a hotel, and
Right.
whatever. They probably do. Now but it's probably bus the day before.
Yeah. I would imagine it's
Stay in a
probably bus.
shitty hotel.
Yeah. Because it's High
Curfews,
Point lacrosse. It's not
right?
Alabama football.
Exactly. Like curfews be damned, whatever. And you know what? They kind of wake up and it's like, you know what, dude? It's 45 outside. It's gray, kind of wet. I don't know if I fucking have this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the offense just isn't fucking there. And that's why they get 9 goals.
Right.
Now, like I said, that was a completely fabricated set of scenarios. But
Right.
when you're talking about a sport that might not have the exposure of other sports, sometimes you can use simple things like that just to push you over the edge. Because the other thing, too, is you can't use shit like that if High Point has an elite offense, a mediocre defense, and they're going against a mediocre defense. They're probably going to light that fucking team up.
Right. Right.
Or if they do only score, like, but instead of like the mediocre, they still score 14,
Right.
and the other team only musters 12. So it's like got out of there, skin of our teeth, but like they were able to put enough by the goalie.
Right. Right.
But you like, but that's the thing. You still need the basis, right? And that's why it would be interesting. So if they have like that good of an offense, are they ranked High Point?
Um,
Doesn't matter.
yeah, they might have been like 23rd.
Fine. So it's like people are going to be talking about their offense. People are going to be talking like I say this like there's fucking coverage of the sport. But this is the thing though, because there are people who bet college lacrosse. I don't know any. I've never seen a college lacrosse pick until you texted us yesterday, and I started laughing. But someone's doing it because
Right.
if lines are available, that means someone's doing it, and that means someone's putting in the work
Right.
to figure it out. And that also means that the sports books are putting in the work, although minimally. Like, and that's why the other thing too is now you got out of Johns Hopkins Syracuse, and I everything you said was fine. That would almost be like a never bet because it's too high profile of a matchup. It's the primetime game. Everyone's got eyes on that one.
Right.
So if people are going to like, if anyone's going to casually bet college lacrosse, it's that's the game that it's going to be. Um, Something else to consider, and this is a weird one that I don't know if it actually matters. If it's college lacrosse, is the game involving or being played in legal states?
Oh
Because
yeah.
if you've got a South Carolina team playing a team from Georgia, the line that's set can't get influenced one way or the other because
Right.
the fan bases of that specific school can't bet.
Right. That's a
Now,
good point.
Syracuse in New York, like if Syracuse plays Rutgers, everybody can bet.
Right.
Um, like
That's a
that's
really
like,
interesting point. I didn't even think about it like that.
but that's only like small, like that's small in the grand
Right.
scheme of things.
Right.
Because when you have like Alabama playing Georgia, it doesn't matter that those two states don't have sports betting. Anybody around the country can bet, and people will. But I would love to know how many people in Massachusetts bet NCAA lacrosse. It's got to be in the fucking tens of people.
Yeah, probably not a lot.
It has to be in the tens of people. And that might also that would also be another one. You might be able to like you should find a decent odds screen, even if maybe odds checker's good enough, because you might be able to find some goofy numbers. Like you might be able to find like a -3.5 and like a fucking five somewhere else, and it's like I like that team to win outright, and I can get them with five. Like let me make sure my shit's correct, but
Right. Right. Yeah, the issue is finding an
is it
odd
just
screen.
DraftKings?
Well, yeah, I think it's just DraftKings that has the lines that I found. Um, but also like finding an odd screen that has college lacrosse. Like that's pretty fucking hard to do. Like it's not listed on Action Network. Um, it's not. Where else did I look?
This is
Um,
perfect. If I have time this week, I might say fuck
Odds
the
Trader.
players.
I used Odds Trader before. There's no odds on the odds screen and on Odds Trader. So
I wonder
would you say Odds Checker?
odds checker. I don't know if you have to pay for that.
They have lacrosse listed, but so this is the other thing with a lot of these books and odd screens. If they list lacrosse, sometimes it's just professional lacrosse.
Right.
So Odds Checker only has the PLL,
Yep.
which is the Premier League lacrosse, which is professional. They don't list anything for NCAA, which was the same thing with, I think, FanDuel has lacrosse, but
It's just professional.
it's just professional. DraftKings was the only one that I found with college lacrosse.
We should definitely create a fucking college lacrosse betting syndicate.
Get our account shut off on DraftKings
Imagine
because
getting limited betting fucking NCAA lacrosse.
oh
You took
man,
you took too much on fucking the Temple Owls.
yeah,
I'm gonna check our friends at my bookie.
because there's a lot of goofy schools available in college lacrosse, right? Like I said, there's Towson, right? Like they're actually a half decent team. And again, like High Point too, just in that game alone. Like who the fuck has ever heard of High Point University? Right?
I've
Like
only
no
heard
one.
of it because there was a run on kids wanting to go to that school. I think it might be a coastal school.
It is. So I actually knew about it because when I worked at Athletic Republic, one of the kids that went there was going to High Point. So that's the only reason I knew it existed.
Snooker, rugby, table tennis,
Snooker.
UK politics, US politics, team handball, cricket, cycling, darts, Aussie rules, football, no lacrosse, anything. Sure.
It might be something
That's
that
fucking crazy.
you may have to wait. I don't know when the
They
lines
don't
will
even
come
have a
out.
category for it, dude.
Oh, really? I was going to say, like right now on DraftKings, the only thing they have up for college lacrosse is the futures for the who's going to win the NCAA championship.
Well,
Like
here's the other thing.
they don't have this week's lines out yet.
Why would people in Antigua fucking handicap lacrosse?
Exactly. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, right? It could potentially be onto something, but I don't know. I mean, the other part of that is, I mean, as of right now too, because like I said, I haven't been doing it long enough. But I'm also not betting exorbitant amounts of money. It's like $10 here, $20 there type of deal. Like it's not like I'm betting $100 a game, or more, right? But who knows? Like if in the next month I go, 7-2, 7-3, 8-3, something like that, I might be like, well, maybe I got something here. Then maybe I do start betting, 30, 40, 50 a pop and then see how it goes there. But I got to get there first. It's still a ways away. But, well, you mentioned Temple actually. And since this is becoming a sports betting episode, Temple college basketball, men's basketball, might be in some fucking hot water, dude. Did you see this?
I heard about it. They
Yeah. So,
were, yeah. Give. I was gonna say, there's no need for me to fucking trip over the details of what I kind of heard. Obviously, Sammy P brought it up, but
right, right.
um, yeah. I mean, I figured you're gonna give us the real details anyway, so why the fuck should I stumble over them? Well, I think they were like, a 1.5 point favorite. I think it got all the way up to 8.5, and then they won by fucking 4 million.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty accurate.
It is. I know.
So,
I know most of it.
so the line opened. So it was UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham,
The
against,
Dragons.
yeah, against Temple, the Owls. Hoot hoot. So UAB opened as a 1.5 point favorite over Temple. So that was in the morning, right? It opened up. And then throughout the day, by the afternoon, UAB got up to 8 points. So the line moved from 1.5 to 8 in UAB's favor. And then it settled back down at 7 by tip off. So the final score of the game was UAB beat Temple 100-72. So quick math will tell you that's 28 points. So even though they got up to 8 point favorites, they still won by 28. And I think Sammy P might have mentioned this in his episode, where it's the only time UAB has ever scored 100 points or something like that, like in the last like 4 years, something absurd in like a really long amount of time. It's the first time UAB scored 100 points. And they were in Philly, right? So they were at Temple. It's the second straight loss for Temple and the second straight game in which the Owls did not come anywhere remotely close to covering the spread. They were favored by 5.5 points last week against Tulsa. Shout out to the Golden Hurricanes. And they lost that game by 5. So they were 5.5 point favorites and they lost by 5.
There's no hurricanes in Oklahoma. It's only tornadoes.
Yeah, I know. Tulsa opened that game, jumping out to a 16-2 lead and stayed ahead for the rest of the way. So back-to-back games now. They were 5.5 point favorites, lost by 5. And then they were 8 point dogs and lost by 28 to a team that hasn't scored 100 points since fucking Eisenhower. So,
I mean, someone's on the take here.
So the gambling watchdog company, US Integrity, has stepped in. So they are now actually scrutinizing the Temple men's basketball team because they think something's a rotten in Denmark. So in this article that I found from Sports Illustrated, shout out to them for not actually being dead, by the way. And a source in the gambling space says U.S. Integrity has been monitoring Temple games for a while now. So apparently, this watchdog company has noticed a stank coming from the Temple basketball team. And now these last two games back to back have been not great, right? Now it's blatantly obvious that they might have something here. So this comes from Chad Cooper, the director of strategic communications for Temple men's basketball. We are aware of the social media posts regarding last night's men's basketball game. We will review the reports thoroughly in accordance with the university and NCAA policies. While we can't comment any further at this time, we take this matter very seriously. So, U.S. Integrity was also the company that was involved in detecting the Alabama Crimson Tide baseball betting scandal last year that led to the firing of their coach at that time. So we may have an issue down in Temple.
Oh, we know we have one.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding
issue.
out who and how deep does it run.
Yeah, that's what we don't. We don't know who's involved.
Right.
In the full extent of that.
Because the Temple men's basketball team, their head coach, this is his first year as a coach. So
but the only thing I don't know is, because usually you got to get to the players though.
That's what I was going to say next.
The players
typically it's the players, like the coach, because if the coach is on the take, it's a lot easier to catch the coach, right? It's like, why are you taking the star player off with 7 minutes in the game? Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's some obvious things that can happen if it's the coach that's on the take versus the players.
Well, so going back to that Billy Walters interview. I did download his book to listen to. I haven't listened to it yet, but
I bought it off Amazon. I think it's coming in this week.
I'm not reading it. And that's what he said with the Arizona thing, Arizona State, I think. Mid-90s? Is that
yeah.
the
time? Do you listen to the Rogan episode?
Yeah. And it was like mid-90s. It's like, okay, the line moved like crazy, so he jumped in on the other side, got whacked.
Right.
Saw the same thing happen with the same team, goes, I'm staying out of this one. Saw the way it went.
Right.
Third time, recorded it, watched the game back, did his own analysis on what was happening in the game, and then he called the Vegas or the county sheriff or whatever the fuck it is in Nevada.
The commissioner is, the gaming commissioner.
He called the sheriff, like the literal like police department. And threw it up the lines there. But yeah, he taped the game, watched it, and goes, this game is being fucking fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they eventually grabbed the guys based on the betting trends.
Right.
But this is so I know what a lot of people are thinking too is, and I know I'm just repeating other people, but one of the reasons that people, when they were talking about like legalize or don't legalize, one of the objections was always, well, if everyone's gambling, then it's like there's going to be more like nefarious activity. It's like, no. If it's all regulated,
right,
there's going to be less nefarious activity. Now, you hear about it more because it gets reported and people get held accountable in whatever way, shape, or form that is. So there will be quote unquote more reported instances of. Actually, that's no quote unquote. There will be more reported instances. Right. But what was happening before was all the games that were being fixed just went unnoticed.
Right.
Or it's like, wow, this team was really good at the beginning of the year, and then they just like couldn't play defense anymore. I don't know. Maybe they were on the take. I have no clue.
Right. Right.
I was say small school outside of fucking Philly. Now Temple's not a small school, but
yeah,
I
know what you mean.
A game where people aren't paying attention.
Right.
Fucking the Temple Owls against UAB fucking Dragons.
Yeah, no one's really watching that game.
Now,
right? It's
now
not
people
like
are paying
basketball.
But that's the thing with regulation, people are paying attention now because the sports books notice.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that's obvious. I obviously agree with that, right? And go along with that. And I know, like you said, that's what Billy Walters brought up is that the sports betting is going to prevent the goofy shit, right? The guys on the take, the nefarious acts. So yeah, and I mean it's just kind of like those people, and I mean it kind of it is what it is, right? And it's in 2024. People are going to believe whatever they believe, and they're not going to be able to be convinced otherwise because that's just how things work today, right? People just don't have conversation and they're not allowed to change their minds. So, like, if you have people that think that legalized sports betting is going to lead to more nefarious acts, they're going to point to, look how many more reports we have of this. So look how many times we've caught this versus in the past. They're just going to use that as ammo and say that, right? Even though anyone that has common sense that knows how it works is exactly what you just said, right? There's more eyeballs on it. So that's how you catch the nefarious acts, right? It's not because of betting. It's because of betting that they're being caught, right? Like, so like I said, it is what it is, and people are just going to believe whatever they want. They're wrong, right? Like,
Well, people
uh,
are idiots.
yeah, but it's just interesting, right? It's always kind of interesting when these things pop up, and especially to hear in that Sports Illustrated article that this company, US Integrity, had their eyes on Temple for a while now.
Well, so like I said, with the fucking NASA level numbers people working for sports books,
Right,
they're not just setting lines, they're also tracking the fucking patterns and the trends.
right, right,
And it's like, you really think, because there's no way that like a real, true, legit, established mafia at this point is going to try to fix games in a regulated state,
yeah.
if at all. It might be too difficult. I don't really know. I would doubt that. It's going to be a smaller time thing.
Yeah, and I would imagine there's ways to go about it. And I'm not familiar with college basketball, right? I don't know if you can bet props, but I feel like it would be a lot easier to kind of do that with someone's props, right? Like if
Props
you,
are tough because the limits are so low.
yeah, yeah,
Like you can't really get down, and they'll fucking catch that in seconds.
yeah,
Like you thought they caught this fast?
yeah,
They'll catch that even faster. Yeah, so I mean, outside of the one-off athlete that gets himself into trouble, and they're like, okay, well, you're in trouble. Like, you're in trouble with us. Like, I need you to throw this game. You're not going to get real, true, polished organizations that are going to be throwing these games in this way that can't go toe to toe with the data analytics that these sports books and these gaming commissions have.
right, right,
Like, you need to have legit fucking geniuses. And anyone that's any good at and that's why I'm saying like established and organized and bigger. They know that.
right,
People who don't know that, they're the ones who will get caught.
yeah. So just interesting stuff that's out there. Um, Anything else we got going on, or do you want to wrap this up?
I mean, it's about that time.
Yeah, I guess so. This is a big gambling episode.
I can keep that train going.
All right.
Um, so I went by the facility of our old gym sharers the other day,
Yeah.
and the bet was 10-1 odds on $100 bet. So you give me 100, or I give you 1,000.
Right.
The challenge was in 4 hours on the simulator making a hole in one. for it was 100 yards, 4 hours, all things flat, all things calm, the same shot, not on a hole, just a flat green, like on the range, whatever.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
take do you take that bet?
no, that's not enough time. 4 hours is not enough time.
But it's 10 to 1 odds.
It doesn't matter. I'm not taking it.
What if you envision yourself as like a 3-4 handicap?
Uh, Still probably not taking it.
See, I thought it was a bet that you take because even if the likelihood is low, I mean, dude, making a hole in one's luck, right?
Yeah,
And making it on a simulator is also luck.
right,
So we're talking a 10 to 1, we're talking 10 to 1 odds, which right now is Rory McIlroy to win the Players this weekend.
right.
I don't know, man. In 4 hours, like I almost like my chances of making a hole in one more than him winning the Players this weekend. Now, like I said,
Yeah, okay. If you
it's
look at it
it's
like that,
it's unlikely,
yeah,
but 10 to 1, 4 hours on a really it's by chance in a way. It's almost like $100 scratch ticket in a
yeah.
way.
Do you think it's easier to make a hole in one on a simulator or real life?
Um, I
That's
don't
a
know.
tough one.
I
That's a
would
really hard one.
argue, well, because I could argue it would probably end up equaling out because in real life, if you have elements, but
Right.
elements could also help. So it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
you could have bumpy greens that knock a ball offline. You could have bumpy greens that knock a ball into the hole. You have wind that could
Push the ball towards the
push it
cup.
away or it
Yeah.
could push it towards the cup.
Right. Right.
Um, but on the simulator, everything's perfect, so you don't have any lie. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
I would imagine maybe slight edge to the simulator because you know you're going to get a perfect lie every time.
Right.
But then you're also dealing with algorithms and whatnot. So I don't know. I think
Because didn't
the
the
elements of
guy
the
from Barstool just did a hole in one challenge? Didn't it
yeah, it
take him
took him
like
forever.
32 hours?
Took him forever.
Yeah.
But he's also not that good at golf.
That's fair. Yeah. But
Yeah, it took him forever. He was like sleeping and shit.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 32 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, even if
So
you cut that by 20, like by 75%, that's still 8 hours.
well,
And you have half of that.
so I'm at the office and Super Nintendo Chalmers is telling me that. And I'm like, I don't know. I think you got to take that bet. He's like, yeah, I don't know, like whatever. So get home. I get into a big group message and it goes, tonight at 8 o'clock, 10 to 1 odds on $100 bet. He goes, our British friend is going to try to do it in 4 hours. I'm like, all right, here we go. They got started at like 8:20. So this is going until fucking midnight.
Yeah, yeah,
And everyone's working the next day. But uh he took 666 shots, number of the beast,
yeah.
in 4 hours. Two lip outs, 20 what was considered close calls, and he did not make a hole in one.
Right. Yeah, man, it's really fucking hard to make a hole in one.
It is, but again, it's like, and I know it sucks. It's like it's not like $10 to win 100.
Yeah,
That's almost like who gives a fuck? It's $10. But then on the flip side, it's almost like you want me to hit how many balls, and I
yeah,
only win 100. That's why it's like I actually gave a lot of credit to the odds maker.
yeah,
I was like, dude, that I go, it was just enough to like make you think. And that's why I said it. I'm like, you almost have to take the bet. If it was 50 to make 500, I'd almost go, no,
yeah.
I don't know. 4 hours, it's a lot of golf balls. Because on average, he hit 166 an hour.
That's so many.
And dude, he sent a video from like at like fucking midnight. He was in tough shape. Just
Yeah.
making those last few swings.
So 166 balls in 60 minutes that's almost 3 balls a minute.
And I guarantee you, he started way fucking faster than that.
Yeah. That's a shot every 20 seconds, roughly.
I want to say he hit 50 in the first 20 minutes
That's absurd.
and then slowed it down from there.
That's like, well, I mean, I guess it is a war of attrition, right? When you're trying to make a hole in one in 4 hours. Because I was going to say, if you're taking a shot every 10 to 20 seconds, especially at the beginning, probably closer to the 10-second mark, like you're not lining anything up. Like, but again, it's a war of attrition, right? You're just trying to fire as many balls over there as you can.
The other thing, because it's at the green, you can't fly it in the cup, so it needs to bounce
Right.
and go in.
Right.
So you actually don't have to be super precise because again,
Yeah.
you're relying on chance. So I think he was hitting like a 56 degree too. Kicked it immediately and goes, I'm hitting 50s and I'm just gonna fucking run them in. Uh, which I think is the right strategy. So it's like you don't really like again, you can just start hitting these like punchy fucking
What was the
wedges.
distance?
100. So
Yeah, that's not bad. That's one of yeah, okay. All right. I should have led with that and asked what the distance was. Because if you were
probably didn't
telling me it
mention
was
it
like a
three
par
times.
three, right? And it's like 175 yards or something
No.
like that,
Nope.
I'm not doing that. Right. But if you're telling me it's only from 100 yards for $100 to win 1,000 and you get 4 hours to get a hole in one from 100 yards, that's a lot more palatable than because when you said that, right? When you originally said it, I just thought like that's par three distance, right? Somewhere between 175 and 190, right? For is your probably average par three. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You can't make a hole in like you know how hard it is to make a hole in one from 182 yards, even in 4 hours. But from 100 yards, that's a different story.
The other thing too is I would have told him it's got to be no. How far would I need? Is 100? Okay, I could hit my 48. My 40 because my 48 is like 115. But yeah, if we're hitting like punchy, fucking bouncing
Yeah.
shots, then yeah, that's fine. So I mean, again, it's one of those things like yeah, okay, so it didn't work out, but I mean, I still thought it was a good bet. It was the right bet.
Yeah. It just didn't hit.
Just didn't hit. It just didn't win.
Yeah, no, I like you said that now knowing that it was from 100 yards, I like the bet a lot more. Uh, Me personally, I don't know I would if I would do it, but for
No, that's the other thing is James is
right, but for someone like
he's
you
a
or
four.
James, that's
Yeah,
that's
he's a four and
reasonable.
has hit a billion balls on that simulator before.
Right, right.
Well, the other thing too is I bet you it wouldn't have been 10 to 1 if he goes, well, what if we make it 105? And it's like, okay, well, why did you say 105?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
must be, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no,
Yeah.
back it
But what
up.
about from a 107?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
Okay, that sounds awfully a lot like a carry number.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? The degenerate Steve probably wouldn't have cared. Like, yeah, whatever. You're not going to make it anyway.
That's pretty good. Let's see. Do I have anything that would be kind of similar for my Oh, yeah, actually. Well, it's golf, right? If we're it's not necessarily betting, but it is a lottery. Um, so I entered into the Mass Golf Member Day lottery for this
Yep.
season. So
Look, there's a couple decent spots there.
yeah, so I talked about it last year. I actually got picked for Pawtucket Country Club, which was super convenient because it's about 12 minutes from my house. Um, so that was cool. I actually played really well, right? I shot an 86 in my like real legitimate 86, right? Because it's competition in my first ever competitive round of golf. So I was pretty stoked with that. So this year I have entered in again to the lotteries here. So I'll read off what I put in, and then you let me know if I suck or it sucked. Well, I know I suck, but whatever.
Correct.
Um, so the first one I have is Whitensville Golf Club, which would be June 3rd. That is allegedly the number two ranked nine-hole course in the country or something like
Yeah,
that. I
something
feel
like
like I've
that.
heard. So we'll see.
Are you gonna
That's
lay them all on me, or do you want me to go one by one? Because I'll write them down. I already did.
um
Lay them all on
yeah,
me.
I'll go all and then you tell me from there. The next one, June 5th is LeBaron, um, which Pat is a member
Not
of.
anymore.
No, never mind.
He aged out.
Uh, so then June 17th is Ledgemont in Seekonk. Then July 1st is Plymouth Country Club. July 15th was Oak Hill Country Club. That's, I think, the furthest away. Well,
Whitensville might be further. Fitchburg?
not
Oh
for
no,
me.
because Fitchburg's also north.
Yeah, Fitchburg is north.
Because Whitensville
Whitensville,
has to be more west, but
it's
south and
probably
central.
like a half hour away from me. Like that's not that bad. I just
Oh
cut
really?
right through Rhode Island. Yeah. Well, I take 146.
Truth be told, I don't really know where Whitensville is. Is it actually
It's
in Whitensville or is it in a different city?
yeah. So I mean, if you want to get technical, Whitensville is a village of Northbridge.
Oh,
So it's Northbridge.
we're back to villages.
Yeah. Um, so what did I say? Oak Hill. Yeah, Oak Hill's in Fitchburg, which is kind of far from me, but whatever. And then August 5th, I did Pawtucket again. So I'll probably win that one again, and I'll just go there fucking every year and never go anywhere else. Then I have September 25th was a Coke sit down in Westport. And then this technically also could be the longer drive for me, but on September 30th is Renaissance in Haverhill. So I feel like Haverhill is probably further away from me than Fitchburg. But that's funny because shout out to Fodge. He's a member there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he listens to every episode, but I know he listens to some. So sup Fodge. Um, October 7th is Cape Cod National. And then October 28th is Milton Hoosick in Canton.
Okay. So courses I have played: LeBaron, Plymouth, Coxit, Renaissance. So that's four out of your selection. Was this 10? 3, 6, 10. So I've played 4 out of 10. Um, Whitensville, as you led with, is supposed to be one of the top 9-hole courses in the country. Everyone who plays there loves it. Never been, but yeah, I mean, I want to get there. I just don't have. I actually think I have an avenue. It would take not too much work. It would take some work, but I could. I think I would have an avenue to play there.
Well,
Um.
if I win the lottery, you can come with me because
Oh God,
I
don't even,
requested two tickets for every event that I.
bro. Like, so I don't even want to go into my fucking schedule from now until the wedding. It's fucking stupid. Anywho, LeBaron. I've played LeBaron a bunch of times. LeBaron is just a nice, solid 18-hole private golf course. Its architecture won't make you shit your pants. Its conditions won't make you shit your pants, but it's not a bad layout. It's not a bad condition place. Um, it's just a really, really solid private golf course. Um, One guy said and this guy plays a million fucking places. He goes, it's my favorite match play course in the state. And
Okay.
I get that, but you're not playing match play, so who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Um, Ledgemont. I've never played. So out of convenience, you're probably going to want to play that if you get in. Or I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I mean it's 15, 20 minutes
I
from my
also
house.
forgot you got into all of these. You get what you get. So you actually, I forgot about that. So
Yeah, it's
rescind
a
the previous
lottery.
statement. Yeah, you get what you
It's
get.
yeah. Like I talked to
Ledgemont.
people at Pawtucket last year when I was playing that have been entering the lottery for years and never gotten picked. And this
Oh,
Pawtucket
really?
that event in
I thought they.
Pawtucket
Okay, hold
was the
on.
first one that they got picked.
I thought if you enter enough, they try to get you into one. So I will criticize
That could
because,
be a new thing that maybe since the membership has grown.
well, I also, again, I thought they try to get you into one because, but I could also see if you look at this. So out of your 10, the most, what would be considered prestigious or the most like acclaimed course is Cape Cod National.
Mhm.
So yes, if you look at it and go, "Ooh, I want to play Cape Cod National," I'll enter that lottery. To go, did you enter any others? No. Did you get picked? No. What the hell? It's like you only entered one, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's like so. I wouldn't be surprised if some people said that. So anyway, I'll continue with Cape Cod National. Cape Cod National is probably the top 20 in the state. Um, it's at Wauquasit, or there's a relationship with Wauquasit. So if you pay the 6, 7, 8 thousand bucks a night to stay at Wauquasit, you can get a tea time, and then you pay like another 250 to play Cape Cod National.
Oh, that's it.
Um, but yeah, I mean it's supposed to be sick. So I actually am tentatively going to play that in April. I can report back, provided I still do. Anyway, so back to Ledgemont. Again, Ledgemont, I think is supposed to. I think it would probably follow a very similar category to LeBaron. It's supposed to just be like solid. Like
Yeah.
you're not. No one's gonna lose their mind over its layout, its architecture, its conditioning, whatever. The only problem is like year to year, they sometimes have some issues. So it's like one year their greens died. So people were telling me it's like, don't play, the greens are fucking dead. And I'm like, okay. And then people are like, oh, the greens are back. And I'm like, I can't fucking keep up with this. So
It's also like down the street from Pawtucket Country Club.
right, they're all in the same area. Um, Plymouth. I have played Plymouth. If you get in, I will prep you for that course. And I will not prep you with any type of strategy or tell you what to do, but I will tell you how to not want to commit suicide on that golf course.
Good. Because it's also
Because
a 1 p.m. shotgun start at Plymouth.
so Plymouth Country Club is the way I can. So I like it a lot, but if I never had to play a competitive round there again, I'd be fucking happy. It's a really, really hard golf course to get the ball from your approach shot into the cup. So, generally speaking, it's very friendly off the tee. Now, if you're wayward, you're wayward. That's any golf course.
Right, right, right.
But generally speaking, you can kind of hit it sort of everywhere. Like, and then like one, you can hit driver, you don't have to hit driver. Two's a bitch, three's a bitch, four is less than driver, most likely. Um, Six is one of my favorite holes in the state. Seven's a short par four. I always lay it up. Some people go for it. I don't understand why anyone would fucking go for it. Nope, I'm off a hole. That's six. Five is one of my favorite holes in the state because seven and eight have the two most diabolical fucking greens I've ever played back to back. It's fucking insanity. These two greens, they are fucking crazy. Like so much slope and so much speed. It's fucking insanity. So, um, that's like I told somebody, oh, I'm playing there for the first time. I go, here's what's gonna happen. I go, when you play 7 and 8, the greens are not fucking fair and it's not fucking right.
Yeah.
He's like, that bad? I go, just if you get out of there, like without making a fucking complete mess, consider it a win and move on with your life. Yeah, so I mean, it's like a tricky place, but the greens are so fucking hard. There's so much slope and they're so fast usually. It's just a really hard place to get the fucking ball in the hole. Um, Typical Donnie Ross though.
Oh, sick.
Oak Hill. I don't know much about it. Donald Ross, so it's an older course. It's supposed to be solid. I think like when you play back, I think it's supposed to be like a bitch, like an absolute bitch. But other people have told me, it's really just not that bad. Which, if I was to generally speak of a Donald Ross course, and I know Pawtucket is, but I didn't play there, and I know Pawtucket seems to be a little bit tighter. Generally, you can kind of spray it off the tee and at least keep the ball in play. Now, you might not have the shot that you would like, but you can kind of get away with it. And then as
Hmm.
long as you're not like long of the green, you can usually figure it out from there. So I think Oak Hill just also fits that same kind of mold. Like if you kind of keep it where you can see it, you shouldn't get into too much harm. Um, but yeah, I think it can kick you in the teeth if you're not ready. Pawtucket, I've never played it. You have. We talked about it last year. Anyway, a Coaxit, either a Coaxit or Eastward Ho is my favorite course in the state. Um,
Sweet.
Eastward Ho is probably the best course I've played.
Is that
Uh,
private?
it's very private. Um, it's probably the best course I've played, and it's also on the ocean. I do love an ocean course, so that's probably why I give it the nod. Um, it's also super unique. The at Augusta, the TV doesn't do the undulations justice.
Yeah, yeah,
Same thing at fucking Eastwood Ho. It's fucking crazy.
yeah.
Like the first hole is like fucking 45 yards uphill. Um, at Eastward Ho. A Coaxit, on the other hand, on the ocean, hidden gem, sneaky spot, very private, or it's not very private, it's private, but a weird part of the state. Um, it's a very sneaky good place.
Yeah.
And like Sharon, it's a nine holer, but you play different tees. So I think it's when you play six. I want to say six on the front is a par four, but a par five on the back, and then eight on the front is a par five and a par four on the back. I think if I have that correct.
Yeah.
I really like a Coke set. I'm kind of bummed that I will not be playing this year. I'll be on my honeymoon, so I guess that's a decent trade off. I did.
That's fair.
That's where I won my first tour event there, and I also made a 10 hitting a ball backwards in a different year. Um, so I really like a Coke set. It's like the sneaky. It's so I think it's like the sneaky best course that we play. It's not. I won't say it's the best conditions, but it's probably the most fun. I think that's probably how it is. And like so that's the thing with Eastward Ho is the cooler piece of property. It's the better golf course, but it is difficult, so it's not as fun. A Coaxit's awesome. I really like it
Yeah.
there. Renaissance. I have played a few times with our man. Um, there's a lot that pisses me off at Renaissance. So it's always nice. It's always in good shape. Um, it's like enough challenge, but like it's a course that you need to kind of know how to play. Which is sometimes I don't love coming around on it a little bit, but like a couple of holes, they're just fucking hard, man. Like the par five, you tee off a fucking cliff.
Oh
Or
shit.
actually, there's a par four before it. You hit up the cliff. Don't love that because the
Yeah.
green's a little cuckoo too. But yeah, it's like all blind. Don't love it. Then you hit back down the cliff with your tee shot, and it's like in the landing area, it's like fairway and bunkers. That's it. There's no rough, there's no space, there's no nothing. Like
Yeah.
you just don't like. I don't feel as though they give you a lot of area to hit the ball.
Yeah.
So it's not my favorite. Um, Six is a good hole. It's really fucking hard. And then you get like the eighth hole. It's like this like goofy forced layup kind of thing, but like you could take on some, but like it's I think I did, and it might have worked out, or I put in a bunker. I don't know, but like I'm like sitting there. I'm like, this water hazard shouldn't be here. This is kind of fucking stupid. Um, but the back is way better than the front.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a cool spot, but there are some like, especially on the front, there's some tricks that make it not my favorite.
Yeah.
I've come around a little bit on it because the back is pretty solid. Um, it's different. It's definitely different. Cape Cod National. I mean, I kind of went over it. I haven't played it yet. It's
Yeah.
supposed to
Yeah.
be one of the better ones in the state. Um, it's private, but you can be a resort guest and get on it. But like I said, if you were looking to play it once, it might cost you fucking upwards of $1,500 when it's all said and done to stay
Right.
a night and play once. So,
Right.
um, we'll see if I do get there. Milton Husick, that's up near me. Never played. I know it's 9 holes, and truthfully, I don't know any other details about it. I don't know anyone that's a member. I don't think I know many people who have reviewed it, like what it plays like. I know the tour doesn't go there anymore. They used to do the triathlon there, I think. Um, so yeah, I don't know much about Milton Husick.
All right. So
Is your list?
we'll see. We'll see what I come out with.
Yeah.
So
I mean, overall, I think your spread of courses. Now, I don't know what else was on there, and I don't care to look either. Don't tell me either. Like, I don't care. The spread of courses kind of covers like a lot of different things. So I think no matter what, you will like if you get any of these, God forbid, two. Um, there's definitely something to take away from it. Like you'll get to play like a place that you otherwise wouldn't,
right.
and there'll be something to take away
Yeah. Which
somehow.
again is the whole point of the member day lottery system,
Right.
right? Is you get to play somewhere that you would normally otherwise not be able to. So yeah. So we'll see. So like I said, I put in a request for 2 tickets for every event that I went into. So it's yours to refuse first. And then I have to go down the list of anyone else I know that actually has a gin number. Because that's the
So
requirement is you have to have a gin handicap.
right of first refusal.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right. Well, that's going to do it for us. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit subscribe up above, hit the thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you're an audio only guy as well. If you use Spotify or Apple, leave us a review. Give us 5 stars over there. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. We're on Twitter at Sarcasm_speaks. Facebook page is Sarcasm Speaks. Website is sarcasmspeaks.com. Go to the merch store, buy some merch, and then also check out all the sponsors in the show notes below. There's all your discount codes and links and everything you need down there to get some great products and save some money while you're doing it too. So that is going to do it for us. Until next time, good night, everybody.